with YouTube or MC3. Back with another video. Today we got Marcus Smart, Defensive Player of the Year.
Marcus Smart was so good that 2 years ago he won Defensive Player of the Year, was the heart of a team that went to the finals. But in a very short time, he is basically irrelevant. And no real contender wants him on their team. So what happened? I mean, the dude just turned 30 years old. Which isn't ancient in today's NBA. Like another all-world defender is Jrue Holiday. Plays the same position. Got a 4-year, $134 million extension at age 33. So what happened to Marcus Smart to make him a complete non-factor almost overnight? Well, the Celtics had a down year, as expected, in 2013-14 after they traded Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett to Brooklyn. So in the 2014 draft went Andrew Wiggins, Jabari Parker, Joel Embiid, Aaron Gordon, Dante Exum, and Marcus Smart to Boston at 6. Now, Marcus had a reputation coming to the league after he shoved a fan during a college game and was suspended, but he wasn't afraid to be that guy in the league, too. January 2017, Smart dished to Tatum to cut Houston's lead to 1. Then, Smart drew an offensive foul on James Harden. Al Horford quickly scored the go-ahead bucket. Harden was pissed. So on the inbounds, Smart draws another offensive foul to win the game. Dude would dive on the floor to win regular season games. And big games? Against the defending champion Raptors, Norm Powell had Smart backpedaling, but he somehow recovers for a series-winning Game 7 block. So Marcus established himself as a tough guy with all-NBA defense. But in 2018, he got life-changing news. But summer is here, and my favorite way to stay fit is to be precise and reach out such variety. MAs all soon one I've ever. Camelia had been fighting cancer, but didn't want to tell Marcus so that he could focus on basketball. But if she didn't tell him right then, it could be too late. So he left her for the playoffs, then came back just in time to say goodbye. He said, "We just let her pass peacefully, but it was devastating for us. We had to sit there and watch that. But at the same time, I'm glad that I was able to be there for her in her last moments." And after that, Marcus opened up, matured, and became the heart and soul of the Celtics. But even his most diehard fans and teammates had issues with how he played the game. First, his aggression could cross the line. In 2018, he punched a picture frame at a hotel, which required 20 stitches and almost ended his career. Doctors told him if the glass was an eighth of an inch deeper, he would have never played basketball again. But on the court, 2018 Game 7 against Cleveland. Kyrie Irving was injured, rookie Jason Tatum on fire, 24 points, poster dunk on LeBron. But Marcus kept launching threes despite hitting just 1 of 10. Yes, Jaylen Brown struggled, but Marcus Smart's poor shooting arguably cost them a trip to the finals. Then 2020 Conference Finals Game 2 against Miami. Celtics blew a 17-point lead, but down the stretch, Smart took multiple isolation threes instead of running the offense through Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. The Heat took the game and eventually the series. So Smart had a terrible shot and decision making, but to make things worse, he just didn't get it sometimes. Like after a game in 2021, Smart blamed his teammates for his bad game. He said, "I would just like to play basketball. I mean, every team knows we're going to Jason and Jaylen, and I think everybody's scouting reporters to make those guys try to pass the ball, but they don't want to pass the ball, and that's something that they're going to learn." What? No, the team is better when they are taking shots, and every Celtics fan knew that. So by the end, it was a little easier to deal him to Memphis, where his career imploded. But before we explain why, Smart did become the most controversial defensive player of the year in decades. This was 2022 when Rudy Gobert had won 3 of 4. And voters honestly were getting a little tired of the Frenchman, so with no clear frontrunner, a narrative grew around Marcus Smart. Why? Because Celtics had the best defense after January 1st and he was their best defender. Why not? Duke could guard 1 through 4, draws charges, disrupts pick and rolls, but one little problem. He didn't exactly have the stats or the juice to back it up that year. Marcus didn't even guard the other team's best player every night, like a Jrue Holiday or Draymond Green. People thought he wasn't even the best defender on his own team. Some analysts thought it was Robert Williams. But Marcus was the loud vocal leader, so he became the first guard since Gary Payton in 1996 to win it. But obviously, He was a great defender. So how does that guy become irrelevant just 2 years later? Well, the Celtics traded him to Memphis for Kristaps Porzingis, 2 first-round picks, and the Wizards got Tyus Jones, Danilo Gallinari, Mike Muscala, and a second. Now, obviously, KP was key to Boston winning the championship that year, so great trade for them. But Memphis did this to add a vet at Ja Morant's position while Ja was suspended. Now, the number one reason that you'd say this failed was injuries, right? Marcus played just 20 of 82 games that first year, then 19 games before getting traded again. But dude didn't exactly look in elite shape in Memphis, which translated to his play. Now, to be clear, there was about a 5-year stretch there where Smart was maybe the best backcourt defender in the NBA. He is built like a football player with major speed, so there wasn't a good way to attack him in open space or pick and roll. Also a beast against bigger players and off ball. Now, he ain't that good anymore, but in Memphis, Smart was tasked as one of the Grizz' primary on-ball creators, and that is where his limitations get exposed. He is not a consistent shooter off the dribble, and his limited explosiveness takes away how effective he is around the basket. Memphis on this play is going to try to free him up with these staggered screens, but look at how Grayson Allen and Booker shift back deep below the 3. Oh, they are happy to give Smart that wide open look and a brick. Also, he turned the ball over 25.6% of the time on pick and roll, the 8th highest rate in the NBA. He just doesn't have the tight handle, which gets picked. And he doesn't exactly map the court very well as a passer. So how is that guy supposed to replace Ja Morant? The Grizzlies were a horrible team for him to go to, and the trade was a gigantic mistake. Memphis then had to attach another first-round pick just to get rid of him. So for 39 awful games of Marcus Smart, the Grizz had to pay 3 first-round picks. What a disaster. Now he is on the Wizards, and there is close to zero buzz about him joining a contender. Of course, his $20 million salary doesn't help, but in a league that is obsessed with shooting, once his defense slipped just a little, Smart lost value quick, like lightning fast. So it's no surprise that he wins Defensive Player of the Year. Then the next thing you know, he is an irrelevant player. Now, I wouldn't be surprised after this contract if Smart goes somewhere for like a year or 2 for defense off the bench. But his days of being in the spotlight for a contender are long gone. And I hate to say it, because Smart was beloved by Celtics fans, but his leadership may have been a tad overrated. I mean, the first year he leaves, they win a championship. And once he left, the C's were then able to lean into their identity as all 5 starters can take and make threes. But another guy who fell off real quick was Andre Drummond, but Drum went even higher than Marcus Smart. He was an all-star on a max contract. So how did he go from face of a franchise to a journeyman backup?
Yeah, well, Mark tomorrow. Hope we can get back right. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe. Catch up with us in the next man. Peace.